There are cases that haunt detectives for decades. Cases that don't close, they just stop. The disappearance of Claire Merritt was one of those cases. A 34-year-old elementary school teacher, devoted mother of one. No criminal record. No enemies anyone could name. She vanished on a Tuesday evening in November. Her car was found parked outside the Millfield Community Center. Engine off, keys still in the ignition. Her phone was on the passenger seat. Her coffee was still warm. The last call she made was to her sister Dana, 6 seconds long. She never said a word. Detective Ray Callahan caught the case on a Wednesday morning. He'd been on the force in Millfield, Ohio for 19 years. He'd seen a lot, but something about this one bothered him immediately. There was no struggle, he later recalled in his field notes. No signs of distress in the car. No screaming witnessed. She just ceased to exist between the parking lot and the front door. The community center had one working security camera covering the entrance. Footage showed Claire parking at 6:47 p.m. She got out, reached back for her bag, then stopped. She stood still for almost 12 seconds. Then she walked, not toward the front door, but around the side of the building. And she never came back out. Callahan canvassed the neighborhood within 48 hours. 17 interviews, 3 persons of interest. The first was Marcus Webb, Claire's ex-husband. They'd been divorced for 2 years. The split was described as amicable by mutual friends, but court records told a different story. A restraining order had been filed, and then withdrawn 6 months before her disappearance. When questioned, Marcus cooperated fully. He had an alibi, a poker night at a friend's house with 4 witnesses. Verified, solid. The second person of interest was a man named Gerald Oates, a handyman who had done work at Claire's home the previous summer. A neighbor had reported seeing his truck near her house in the days before she vanished. Oates was interviewed twice. He was nervous, evasive, but nervousness isn't evidence. And his truck had been in the area because he had 3 other clients on the same street. The third person of interest was someone no one expected. Her name was Sandra Vale, Claire's best friend. Sandra Vale had known Claire since college. They'd been inseparable, the kind of friendship people describe as like sisters. Sandra was the one who reported Claire missing. She called the police at 10:12 p.m. on the night of the disappearance, saying Claire had never shown up for their weekly dinner. She was the one who gave police Claire's phone records. She was the one who organized the search party. She posted flyers. She cried on the local news. She was everywhere. Callahan noted something early, a detail he almost dismissed. Sandra knew things. She knew which coffee Claire had ordered that evening before disappearing. She knew Claire had been stressed lately, but couldn't quite explain why. She knew the timestamp of Claire's last phone call. Before police had released that information publicly, Callahan asked her directly, "How did you know what time she called her sister?" Sandra said she'd talked to Dana. Dana said she hadn't spoken to Sandra that day. It was a small crack, but cracks have a way of spreading. Callahan dug deeper into their friendship. What he found was complicated. 18 months before Claire's disappearance, Claire had discovered that Sandra, her best friend, had been having an affair with Marcus Webb, her ex-husband. Claire had confronted Sandra. There had been a fight, a brutal one by all accounts, but then nothing. The 2 women had reconciled, quietly, completely. Friends again, like nothing had happened. Too completely, Callahan thought. He pulled Sandra's financial records. He found a payment, wired from Sandra's account to a prepaid debit card 4 days before Claire vanished. The prepaid card was untraceable. 6 days after Claire's disappearance, a dog walker found something in Millfield Creek, 2 miles from the community center. A handbag, Claire's, inside her wallet, her ID, $32 in cash, and a crumpled handwritten note. The note read, "I know what you did to her. Meet me tonight. Come alone, L." The note wasn't addressed to anyone. There was no way to know if Claire had written it or received it, but the letter L sent the investigation sideways. Callahan made a list of everyone in Claire's life with a name starting with L. Her neighbor, Linda Marsh, a coworker named Leo Huang, her daughter, Lily, 8 years old. Lily. When Callahan interviewed Lily carefully, with a child psychologist present, the girl said something that stopped the room cold. "Mommy said if she didn't come home, I should give the envelope to the police." She reached under her mattress. She pulled out a sealed envelope, on the front in Claire's handwriting. "For a detective, open if something happens to me." Inside was a USB drive. The USB drive contained 3 files. The first was a series of screenshots, text messages between Marcus and Sandra, spanning over a year. Most were what you'd expect from an affair. But buried in the middle were messages from 7 months prior. "Sandra, she's going to ruin everything. I can't let her do this." "Marcus, what are you going to do?" "Sandra, what I should have done a long time ago. Trust me." The second file was a voice memo, Claire's voice. She spoke calmly, like a woman who had accepted something terrible was coming. She said, "My name is Claire Merritt. If you're listening to this, I didn't make it. I've been gathering evidence for 3 weeks. I believe Sandra Vale has been embezzling from the school's parent fund, a fund I manage. When I confronted her privately, she threatened me. She said I didn't understand what I was dealing with. 2 days later, my brakes nearly failed on Route 9. The mechanic said it looked deliberate. She paused. I don't know who to trust. I'm going to the community center tonight to meet someone who says they have proof." The note was signed L. I think it's Leo Huang from school. He mentioned he'd seen Sandra taking money. "I'm scared. I'm putting this under Lily's mattress because Sandra's been inside my house. She has a key." The third file was a spreadsheet. 41 transactions, $187,000 missing from the Millfield Elementary Parent-Teacher Fund over 14 months. Every transfer routed through a shell account. The shell account was registered to a business called SV Consulting, Sandra Vale's initials. Sandra Vale was arrested on a Friday morning. She denied everything. Her lawyer called the evidence circumstantial. She wept in front of cameras outside the courthouse. The community rallied around her, and then 11 days after Claire vanished, she was found alive in a rental cabin 40 miles north of Millfield, alone, unharmed. And here's where the story turns. Claire Merritt had staged her own disappearance. Not to escape, not out of fear, to force the investigation. She'd gone to the police 2 months earlier with her suspicions about Sandra. She had been dismissed. Insufficient evidence, they said. She had hired a private investigator. He was killed in a car accident before he could file his report. She had emailed the school board. The email was never answered. So she made a choice. She told only one person, Leo Huang, a trusted coworker. She planned every detail. She parked her car. She left her phone. She walked out the back of the community center into Leo's waiting vehicle. And she hid, waited for the investigation to go deep enough that the USB drive would be found. Waited for the evidence to be undeniable. Waited for the truth to have no exit. "I knew if I disappeared," she said in her first interview after reappearing, "people would actually look. Nobody looks until something terrible happens. So I made something terrible happen without getting hurt." She had calculated it almost perfectly. Almost. What she hadn't calculated was Lily. Her 8-year-old daughter had spent 11 days believing her mother was gone. Had slept with the light on every night. Stopped eating. Had asked Leo on day 4, with the flat certainty of a child who already knows the answer. "She's not dead, is she?" "She's hiding." Leo hadn't answered. He didn't have to. Sandra Vale was convicted of embezzlement, criminal harassment, and conspiracy to commit assault. She was sentenced to 11 years. Marcus Webb was charged as an accessory. He took a plea deal, 2 years probation. Claire Merritt was not charged. The district attorney cited extraordinary circumstances and declined to prosecute. The school's parent fund was fully reimbursed through civil proceedings. Callahan retired the following spring. In his final case notes, he wrote only one line about the Merritt case. In 19 years, she's the only victim who solved her own case. Claire and Lily moved to Portland, Oregon. Claire now teaches again at a school small enough that she knows every parent's name. She still checks under Lily's mattress sometimes. Old habit, Lily lets her